Hey, Tatooine Sons family, this is David. Welcome to another shorter episode, a segment of the show. Like I've mentioned before, we understand that we talk about a lot of topics on every episode, and that if you haven't already seen the show or played the game or watched the movie, then you may be missing out on other segments within the show because you don't want to get spoiled. So we're releasing those shorter segments individually, so that you can listen to the ones that you want to. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying with that. Each episode or each segment is about 10 to 15 minutes each. Today's conversation is about season 1 of The Bad Batch, and then a little responsible speculation about season 2, some questions that we would hope are answered in it. Of course, by now the first 2 episodes of season 2 have been released. So I will save my initial spoiler-free thoughts on those until after the segment. Enjoy. Before we get into the episode or the segment about the Bad Batch, I'm curious, who's your favorite member of the Bad Batch?
Well, I know Sam.
See, that's why I'm pissed off, because there's crosshairs, and then they went and made him a bad guy.
It's just Crosshair, not Crosshairs.
Crosshair, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought he was so cool, and then they went and turned him bad.
Okay. So. Well, we'll talk about him a lot today. So, BB Nate, favorite character from the Bad Batch?
I guess I'd have to say Echo.
Echo?
Really? Oh, yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
I think it's Echo. I just really like
Why
his
do you
character.
What is it about him?
I don't know. Just them getting back to him and him actually finding like somebody, a troop to be with at that point after being turned into a
he's
cyborg.
been turned into something different.
So that was cool. I enjoy his character, and he feels the most thoughtful and kind of genuine out of all of them, because all of them are just created to be these genetic soldiers, and he was just a normal one that's been adopted by these people. So that helps too, and helps Omega have somebody that she can relate to as well.
Yeah.
Instead of Wrecker or something like that.
I think it's Tech for me.
Really?
I like Tech because Tech always speaks just the absolute simplest answer to everything possible. It's just like he's perfectly technical with it, and so I think I like him. I mean, they're all very much reflection of their name, obviously with it, but it's a lot of fun. All right, let's do a refresh, not a refresher. In Star Wars, refreshers are very different. You know what a refresher is in Star Wars. These guys don't know. You know?
No, I do.
You don't know what a refresher is, Sam?
How do you not know what a refresher is?
It's a toilet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you mean.
Start a season 1 refresh, not a refresher.
Yeah, very different.
All right. And shout out to winteriscoming.net for their great recap that I basically am going to steal the main points from, because it was better than anything I had to come up with on my own. All right. Omega is a pure, I'll go through these things and then I have a question for you guys at the end. Okay. Omega is a pure genetic clone of Jango Fett. This is something we have to remember. She's therefore Boba Fett's genetic brother. That's something we have to remember. The Bad Batch actually removed their inhibitor chips, including Crosshair. That's an important thing.
But he still went with the Empire.
Well, we'll talk about that. This means none of them are controlled through those inhibitor chips. All are free to make their own choices. That's important. The third thing is Omega helped create the Bad Batch when she was Nala Se's assistant.
Yeah.
We found that out, so especially in the final episodes with that, when she shows the pods or whatever that they were created in. That means that she's actually older than the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And potentially has more knowledge and wisdom than they do.
Good point.
With that. Fourth thing, Kamino was destroyed by Admiral Rampart, who knew the Bad Batch, including Crosshair, were still in Topoka City.
Yep.
This would seem to end the Empire's cloning program, but the end of the episode shows Nala Se being taken to Mount Tantus on Wayland, which suggests that she's expected to continue her work in cloning. And then the fifth thing I want us to recap is Crosshair stays loyal to the Emperor, like you said, Sam, even after Admiral Rampart abandons him to die with the rest of the Bad Batch. Yeah. He refuses to rejoin Clone Force 99, and the trailers show him with Commander Cody in season 2. So my question for both of you guys, obviously it's been a while since the conclusion of season 1. Which of those storylines stands out to you the most as being important going into season 2? I'll start with you, Sam, or BB Nate. Excuse me.
I think that Crosshair, just because it's the Bad Batch, and having Crosshair kind of in a separate spot is going to help kind of drive this season, because honestly we don't know this season's about, or even really what this show is going to be about in the grand universe,
Like how it's going to tie into Star Wars in a grand way.
Right. So I feel like finding out what Crosshair is doing and finding out more about Omega as well is going to really play into how much this show will mean in the later seasons, probably.
Okay. Samuel the Hutt.
Yeah, that was going to be the one that I was going to mention. Just because this is the point in the story where the Empire is really growing. It's where they're really getting their foothold in the galaxy. And so this is really critical to see how they got such a stranglehold on all the planets. And having a member of the Bad Batch in the Empire gives us an inside look to that side of things. Plus, I think it will be interesting to see if his true motive for being there isn't one of a little bit of revenge for Rampart, for Crosshair, because he was
That's
betrayed.
An interesting point, yeah. Like he's sticking around in order to get back at.
Yeah, he's playing the long game with it. Maybe he is just truly loyal and loyal to a fault.
Well, he was. I think that he's clearly loyal to
Absolutely.
the Empire. I'm just curious where it goes after Kamino.
Yeah. So I think that will have some pretty interesting repercussions later on.
Yeah, I think for me it's yes, Kamino was destroyed, but you can't get into the later stories in Star Wars like The Mandalorian with cloning. You can't get to Rise of Skywalker without cloning, and the fact that Nala Se has been taken to Mount Tantus, which is also our huge Legends tie-in to Heir to the Empire and stuff like that. Bringing that into this, I think that we're going to find out more about the cloning program that happens post the Clone Wars, leading to what's going on with Grogu and Mandalorian, what's potentially happening, what happened with Rey, all of that. I mean, cloning is a major element in the future of the storylines within Star Wars after the Bad Batch.
Definitely.
And so I think that's going to be a big part of that.
Very interesting.
With it. All right, so I've got some questions for season 2 of this, and I'm going to give another shout out. Collider.com had some great questions in their article, so I stole those too. Collider, you're awesome.
Not
Thank you.
stealing.
It's not stealing if you credit it, so I'm crediting it. All right, real quick, fast answers, first reactions on this. Samuel the Hutt, where were the Bad Batch's mutations intentional?
I thought we got that already. I thought that what happened was they were created and they had slight mutations, and so they took those mutations and amplified them because they were useful. That's what I thought the whole purpose of the Bad Batch was.
I thought so too.
Okay. All right. Baby Nate. Will Commander Cody confront Captain Rex in season 2?
I think so, but it wouldn't surprise me if Cody dies in this season because we don't see him in anything else, and we haven't seen him in anything since before this point. So I do think that at some point, at least in this show or especially in this season, Cody dies, maybe at the hands of Rex.
Woo!
Dang. All right.
That might be the most controversial moment in Star Wars animation if that happens.
And Dave Filoni would do it.
I could
You
see
know
it.
he
Totally would.
I was sitting there. It was going to be my follow-up question. If he dies, is it Captain Rex that takes him out? Wow. With Echo watching. Echo and Gregor and all those guys with
dang.
it. Samuel Hutt, will Omega, I wanted to say Omega. Will Omega meet Boba Fett in season 2?
I mean, of course, I hope so. I think we were speculating on that for season 1 throughout the weeks, and it never ended up happening. I could definitely see it happening now that they've got a bit of more of a foothold in the story. They're not so tied to Kamino. They're kind of just running around doing their own thing. I could see them running across and a young and up and coming, well, sort of. I guess he's been doing this for a little while since the Clone Wars now. But, a newer Boba Fett. I hope to see his armor, at this point in the story where that his normal Boba armor, but maybe not so dented up like we see it in episode 5. I think that'd be really cool. And it would be interesting, as you mentioned, with her being his sister. I wonder what that conversation would end up being like,
That'd be strange.
I hope they go there.
BB Nate, will we get an unexpected super cameo in season 2? And when I say super cameo, I don't mean like Fennec Shand showing up in season 1, right? That's a cameo, but that's not a super cameo. I'm talking on the level of
Will Rohood.
Luke Skywalker showing up at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. That level of a cameo in this. Do you think we get something like that in season 2?
I don't know who it would be that would fit this show. So
Obi-Wan?
The only one I could think of would be Vader. Could show
That would be a
up.
super
Yeah.
cameo. There'd be
And-
more Vader in this than there's been in Andor.
Yeah. So is Bad Batch a Star Wars show?
Ooh.
Is it?
Ooh. Oh.
Is Bad Batch a Star Wars show?
Oh, yeah, you have the Emperor.
No.
Yeah, the Emperor. He's
You
in the
might have
opening.
the Emperor, but
you
you
have
also-
Jedi.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. The entire first episode starts with them with Order 66 and the
Caleb?
Jedi
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Caleb
okay.
Dune.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
yes, absolutely.
So just because it has a
This
couple
isn't
of
a cheese
lightsabers.
pizza.
This is-
no. This is your cheesy bread, but you pour the marinara.
No, this is the. I'm telling you.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So if Andor
That came
season
back to bite
2
me.
has lightsabers,
Yes,
Then it's a Star Wars show.
exactly. But anyway, you're just deflecting now.
Okay,
will
but-
will there be an unexpected super cameo in season 2?
I'm gonna say no. But if it does happen, it's probably gonna be Vader.
you have any thoughts on that, Sam? I'm curious.
I mean, wouldn't Boba Fett kind of be a super cameo?
Could potentially be. Depends on your perspective on Boba Fett,
Fair
especially
enough.
after the book of Boba Fett.
Fair enough.
We're gonna have that biker gang.
Yeah, the biker gang
Biker
from
gang
Book
gonna show
of Boba Fett's going to show up.
Right.
I'm thinking if we get a super cameo, we get Ahsoka.
Yeah, I could see it.
I think they could tie into the cloning stuff. I think it
That
could
would
tie
cement
into
this as a
a
continuation of
Filoni
Clone
show.
Wars.
a Filoniverse.
Yeah, the
show.
only way I could think we could see Ahsoka is
She's tied
if
to
it's
Captain
connected
Rex.
to Rex.
Yep.
And seeing how that happened and how Rex got Gregor and Wolf
The
and
most
all that.
glorious buffet of super cameos
Buffet?
would be if
Hera, Kanan.
we've already gotten Hera.
I know you've already gotten Hera, but Hera and Kanan together.
No, that doesn't happen.
Not yet.
If you get Cody versus Rex and somehow watching this happen and taking place, you have Kenobi and Ahsoka. Because Commander Cody's story is tied to Kenobi,
Right.
to Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith. And so I think that all of that together would be really interesting, but that isn't going to happen. All right, both of you, I'll start with you, Samuel Hutt, because you mentioned he's your favorite character in the Bad Batch. Will Crosshair in season 2 rejoin the Bad Batch? No, why not?
I think he's going to see the error of his ways, turn good, sacrifice himself, and die.
Wow.
I don't think he's
Yeah,
going
no,
to
that
rejoin.
happened. I think he's going to rejoin the squad, but it's going to be in the last episode of this season,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going to be seeing the Empire going after Bad Batch in season 3 to kind of cap it off. 'Cause
Interesting.
I think this is going to be a trilogy show. I don't think you go more than
Three seasons?
I think 3 seasons is the best for
I could
this.
see that.
I don't know. I'm undecided on that one. I'd like to see it happen, but I want it to be done right. I
Yeah.
don't want it to just be another
Dave Filoni,
redemption.
do
arc.
everything right.
So, all right. Big question on this. Can Crosshair reunite with Clone Force 99? I know we talked about that as like what we thought would happen with this, but almost all of season 1 focused on the break between Clone Force 99 and Crosshair. And so much of the story showed the Bad Batch working to remove their inhibitor chips, and even Wrecker going nuts, trying to kill Omega because he couldn't resist it. And the Bad Batch assumed that Crosshair was remaining loyal to the Empire because he had no choice. The chip was guiding his actions. But the big reveal of the finale was that Crosshair also had his chip removed, like you talked about, with that, had intentionally chosen to break from his brothers and side with their enemies. So Sam, the member of the Bad Batch who seems to be struggling the most with Crosshair's betrayal, at least in season 1, is Hunter. Why do you think he's the most resistant to Crosshair's possible return to the Bad Batch?
Well, he feels betrayed, I think. He thought he was his brother. You can see that Hunter has a real sense of loyalty to his for lack of a better term, family at this point. And Crosshair just so easily going against them, with his will. Like, he wasn't doing this because it was out of his control. That's gotta hurt, especially with Hunter being the leader of this group. He probably feels somewhat responsible too. So I think that's why he's having such a hard time with that.
BB-8 in season 1, the rest of the Bad Batch seems to hold out hope that they can reunite with Crosshair, but after the revelation from that finale, do you think that Tech, Wrecker, Echo, and Omega will still hope for this?
I don't think all of them will. I think a couple might still be on the fence about it, but I think most of them will be feeling that betrayal and not wanting him to come back, or at least not trusting if he does, because they have every right to not trust him. So, I mean, the only one I could think of being okay with it would be Echo, because he doesn't know Crosshair as much and he has a little bit of an unbiased opinion on him at this point. So he could probably be more open to that because he understood what happened with everybody else and how difficult it can be, especially seeing, you know, like when the chip kind of malfunctioned in, who was it, Fives? In Clone Wars. In Clone Wars. Yep. I mean, that was horrible. And so he can understand that there's problems in this. And so we'll see.
Okay. Interesting. For both of you, kind of close this up. What do you think needs to happen, or for Crosshair to what does he have to do in order to rejoin the Bad Batch?
I think he's got to see something really ugly with the Empire. I mean, but I don't know what he could see them doing that he hasn't already either seen or done himself at this point. That would kind of freak him out. So I don't know. He seems so like bought in and he drunk the Kool-Aid, for lack of a better term. I don't know what would need to happen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, BB Nate? Do you think, is there something that he can do to prove to the rest of the Bad Batch that he's serious about this, so that they know?
I think that he can prove he can fight against the Empire with them for a lot, but I don't think they'll ever truly trust him until he fully tries to possibly sacrifice his life. I don't think it'll actually happen, but sacrifice his life to save someone else, like Omega or something. And so I think that'll have to be what happens for them to kind of start to trust him again. But I don't think they will for a while if he does rejoin.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, or the segment here, the first 2 episodes of season 2 are out. We watched those last night. Samuel the Hutt thought they were pretty good. BB Nate is still trying to figure out what the bigger purpose behind the series is. I liked them. I thought that these 2 episodes set the table for what will be happening going forward. As much as Clone Force 99 works together during a crisis, there's still some disagreement amongst them. I feel really smart being able to use that word, amongst. Anyway, as to what they should be doing, I'm sure some big MacGuffins are going to present themselves in the next episodes that will drive the story forward, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So that's it. Thank you so much for checking out this short segment of our full Tatooine Sons episode this week. The next one of these segments will come out early next week. It's going to be all about God of War Ragnarok, so be sure to check that out. And of course, you can hear even more of Tatooine Sons on our big episode with Is It Canon and Movie Moments and all those segments that was released earlier in the week. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials, Tatooine Sons. That's Sons with an O. And as always,
may the Force be with you.